Hey yo, welcome back for another video. So I've already done a video in the past speaking about which one gave you better takeaways and rank the DLCs according to that. So this video is going to be based off of content and which one has the best content from DLCs 1 through 6. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. As far as content, the number one DLC has to be Trunks, A Warrior of Hope. This DLC came packed with so much, and when I first played it, I didn't even care about it. I didn't like it. I was like, whatever, I've already seen the story, read the story, played the story. I don't want to do it again. But they surprised you in so many ways with this one. One, they gave you the original story, right? Then they implemented this area of the gameplay where Gohan was tremendously weak and just overpowered by the androids, truly bringing that terror of what it was like in their time and how they just were hopeless, right? That was something they really brought to light. Then they even had a clip in here from the time they were training in the hyperbolic time chamber between Trunks and Vegeta. So they gave Trunks that old school hairstyle that many other fans love more so than his original one. And they also put in here the battle between him and Cell. Like, there was so many fragments of Trunks' experience and history in which they gave us. And on top of that, they gave us the short but very beautiful Majin Buu arc in his timeline. Gotta be everything. On top of that, with the Super Saiyan 2 transformation and the skills that came along with it. And if you notice in detail, Trunks is the only transformation when he goes Super Saiyan 2 that actually has the electric sound around it. Gohan's don't do it, neither does Goku's and Vegeta's. Absolutely love this DLC.
Leave our world the hell alone!
Next up, Bardock, Alone Against Fate. This was a good successor or a good follow-up to the Trunks DLC when it came down to content. There was so many different things they had in here for exploration, not just on planet Vegeta for the first time to my knowledge, but also other planets. They might not have had a lot there, but nonetheless, they still provided you with that option. Bardock's team and his squad were, pretty solid. They were all new support characters. Bardock's fighting style was good. The battle between him and Frieza and coming to the climax of the entire Bardock experience and story was just impressive. This is one that if you take your time to really go through it, I know you'll enjoy it.
It looks like playtime is now over.
Now, next up has to be the 23rd World Tournament. It had a pretty impressive story, and you take that and you mix it with ground mechanics, which was new to the game, and it's kind of like a revitalizing refresher that it gives to the game. So this right here kind of puts this DLC in a category all in its own. Now, the content in this area kind of gets shorter, and this is where it begins to really get thin moving forward, where it's not as heavy as it was in the Trunks DLC or the Bardock DLC, but nonetheless, this one was more innovative than the other ones, so it's one that you'll remember. So even though the story was pretty impressive, it was extremely short. It kind of left you wanting in so many areas, post-game so many areas, where it was just kind of like abandoned. Like, they offered us a new ground mechanic, which was wonderful, right? That was the highlight of what DLC 5 was about. And in my opinion, it was executed extremely well. Now, another thing they added in was making Tien a playable character. He wasn't anything over the top, and I get it. It was like, pre-Z, but he was still interesting to play with for those people who were excited to play with him, such as myself.
Goku! You'll have to try a lot harder than that.
And number 4 would have to be A New Power Awakens Part 2. Now, many people think this DLC is completely garbage. They don't really, understand it or care what it really has to offer. But as far as content, it was actually okay. It wasn't anything great. It wasn't anything grand. Definitely the takeaways are a lot better than the content in here. But I think compared to the other 2 that remain, this one would have to fall in number 4. Whether you're training on Beerus Planet with Whis to get stronger, to get prepared for the Golden Frieza battle, to playing with Piccolo and Gohan and having support characters fighting the horde of enemies or whatever it may be, to the side missions that was on here, this was actually a pretty decent DLC. Not to mention the new Super Saiyan Blue transformation, which was utterly amazing. This DLC was actually one of my top faves. And for the number 5 slot, Goku's New Journey. And even though this one did have the new ground fighting mechanic and being able to fight in the sky as well, you couldn't really choose between the two, right? And when it came down to content, this was something that was really lacking in this area. So this is why it falls real low on the scale of content over takeaways. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. The only thing that saved this DLC was the final battle between Goku and Vegeta. This DLC was really short, and the charge maybe a fourth or a little bit over that of what the full game cost for this DLC. It just really wasn't worth it. The content was truly lacking in this area. Now, in all fairness, I was one who was really excited for this DLC to come out. And when it came out, I wanted to explore, see what had changed over the 10-year span of Goku training, the environments, the people, and this, that, and the other. And I have to say, it was just a letdown. Even in my review that I've done on this entire DLC, it wasn't a positive one, and I couldn't lie to myself, and I just had to be honest. This DLC needed more. We just didn't get it. They added a newly playable character, Pan, which no one really cared about or really asked for, but they gave it to us. And we played it because it was there, right? And the whole battle with Oob, it wasn't really challenging. We didn't really get anything exciting besides cutscenes from that one. This DLC was just truly a disappointment. But one area that I can say they tried to make up for the lack of the story mode and content was in side missions. That was something that was a little bit above average than what we've gotten from any other DLC, and kind of put that more so on a leveling ground. But at the end of the day, that still didn't save the DLC. Now, finally, at our last DLC, A New Power Awakens. This DLC was just lazy. It was terrible. There wasn't anything great about it. The only benefits that really came from this DLC was the Super Saiyan Red transformation and the Sacred Waters, which you could use to upgrade characters beyond Goku and Vegeta to a higher level at a more faster rate. Apart from those two things, it wasn't really anything. As far as the landscape in which it provided, it was just dead. It was boring. Nothing exciting that was going on here. There was only 3 souls that was on the entire planet, which was Beerus, Whis, and that little fish in the glass. Other than that, man, it was just very dry. This one was a waste of time. And to prove it to you, it was so bad and so short that they actually bundled it with a new Power Awakens Part 2 and discounted it to a permanent $10 price range. That says everything. So with that being said, that's the end of my review as far as the ranked DLCs, from the one that has the most content of being the greatest all the way down to the least of them. And with that being said, I'm out.